All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Holy cow, we got a lot going on. So in just a second, Trump threatens a trade war with one of our top allies, Colombia. I'll break that down for you. It's actually a fast-evolving situation. I have some new updates that just dropped right before I came on air here. So we'll talk about that. We have Project 2025 is officially here. This segment is an I told you so to everybody who bought Trump's BS that I have nothing to do with Project. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of it. But also there's some crazy things in there, and I'm not going to do those things. You haven't heard of it, or there's crazy things in there and you're not going to do it? Anyway, so we'll talk about that. We also have Trump admitting what his long-term plan is for Palestinians. Spoiler alert, it's ugly. We'll dive into comedians who cannot stop cucking themselves to MAGA. We have another on the long list of those folks. We'll talk about that. We have the freezing of cancer research. We have a little bit of a civil war bubbling up in the White House between Elon and Trump. But it's not Trump specifically, but it's somebody else who's super important in the White House. So hopefully that all comes to a head shortly. And then later on we'll get to Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith, who also are hopping on the bandwagon and wave riding and narrative humping and trying to join the winning team of MAGA. I mean, I cannot tell you, I have less than no respect for all of these people who are the Johnny-come-latelys who go, where's the wind blowing? Oh, yeah, no, totally, bro. Right-wing politics, Republicans, MAGA, bro. I'm totally with you, bro. There's a lot of that going on. And that shows a lack of character and spine and ideology and philosophy and principles and convictions. It's grotesque. So we'll dive into it here in just a second. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. That helps out massively. It costs you nothing at all. And of course, this show could not be done without your support on Patreon. This is real independent media, not fake independent media. And you guys fund this show $5 per month at a time on Patreon, or you tip with the thanks button on YouTube. And I literally couldn't do it without you. You know, we don't talk to any advertisers, corporations, billionaires, governments. You know, this is you guys and the default ads on YouTube. That's what keeps this show going. We're very proud of that model that we've built. That's why I've been in the game since 2012 and I'm still here. Everybody knows. Love me or hate me, agree or disagree, you know that what I'm saying is coming from the right place. You know I mean it. You know it's not some bought bullshit that you get with fake independent media, or as we call it, new corporate media. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Here we go. The Colombian president is a man by the name of Gustavo Petro, and this guy is a leftist. And he decided Trump went a little bit too far with what he's doing with mass deportations and ICE. And by the way, we've already covered some of those stories. We have some nightmare stories. Trump already signed a rule that said, okay, ICE is now allowed, if they want to go into schools for deportations and to go into churches for deportations. That's low. That's very, very low. Also, they rounded up somebody, including a U.S. veteran in Newark, New Jersey. It crossed a line so much that the mayor of Newark, New Jersey had to come out and condemn it. Why are you arresting U.S. veterans? It's basically at the point where they walk, hey, show me your papers. Oh, you don't have your papers on you? Because who the fuck carries their papers on? Okay, well, we're going to round you up, and we'll deal with it later. This is where we're at, man. This is where we're at, and it's grotesque. But here's what happened with the Colombian president. So the U.S. is sending these deportation flights all over the place, including into Colombia, and Trump decided we're going to send a military plane, okay, and all the people who we're deporting, they're going to have handcuffs on their hands and on their feet. So Gustavo Petro looked at that, and he said, oh, hold on now. I'm not even saying we're not going to accept deportation flights. We'll accept deportation flights. But you're going to show them a little bit of fucking grace and dignity and treat them like human beings. By the way, Trump doesn't even have to use the military planes. The military planes cost a preposterous amount of money, like $1 million. And you could do what he's doing for $5,000 or $10,000, but he's choosing to do the more expensive thing and make a show of it. So the leftist Colombian president says, nah, and he turned around these deportation flights. So here, I'll walk you through this from The Guardian. Colombian President Gustavo Petro announced on Sunday that he had blocked U.S. military aircraft carrying deported Colombians as part of Donald Trump's immigration crackdown from landing in his country. Mexico has also reportedly refused to receive a similar flight on Saturday. That's, of course, Claudia Sheinbaum of Morena, AMLO's party. She's another leftist. According to U.S. officials cited by Reuters and NBC News, in a post on Twitter, Colombia's leftist leader wrote, "A migrant is not a criminal and must be treated with the dignity that every human being deserves. That's why I ordered the return of U.S. military planes carrying Colombian migrants," Petro wrote, sharing a video of Brazilian deportees who had been flown out of the U.S. on Friday, shackled at the wrist and ankles. He added, "I cannot force migrants to remain in a country that does not want them. But if that country returns them, it must be with dignity and respect for both them and our nation, in civilian planes and without treating them like criminals. We will welcome our compatriots. Colombia deserves respect," wrote the president. So he comes out and says that. And I'll give you a guess how Trump reacted to it. He threw a tantrum. He melted down. And he immediately goes, "Okay, we're going to put tariffs on you. We're going to sanction your family. We're going to sanction your family. And we're going to put 25% tariffs. And then that will increase to 50% tariffs." Now this, Trump doing his Mr. Big Swinging Dick routine. Bro, I'm so macho, bro. I'm so macho. If that were to actually happen, you're talking about many goods that would skyrocket in price. Coffee, for example. Fruit is another one, certain kinds of fruits. There's plenty of trade that we do with Colombia. They're one of our top partners in the region. They're one of our top allies. And 25% tariff, 50% tariff, because you dared to mildly disagree with me and say, hey, at least show people some respect, right? Now, what happened since then? So these are the updates that we just got this morning. Now, I want you to notice something here, because I'll read you the specifics. But look at the way CNN frames this, and then look at the reality, okay? Oh, and I forgot to mention, after Trump said 25% tariffs, and then we'll up them to 50%, Gustavo Petro responds in a long post, and at the bottom of that post, he goes, "Okay, we're going to do that right back to you. You're going to tariff us. We're going to tariff you." Which, ladies and gentlemen, there's a term for that. That's a trade war. We're in week 1, and he's already got us on the brink of a trade war. CNN says the following: Colombia backs down on accepting deportees on military planes after Trump's tariffs threats. So here's what it actually says, though. Colombia has walked back from the brink of a damaging trade war with the United States, reaching an agreement on accepting deported migrants being returned on military planes after a flurry of threats from President Donald Trump that included steep tariffs. Colombia said Sunday evening it had agreed to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of immigrants who enter the U.S. illegally, after 2 U.S. military planes carrying deportees were blocked from entering the country. Quote, "We will continue to receive Colombians and Colombian women who return as deportees, guaranteeing them decent conditions as citizens subject to rights." Now, right there, you already get a little bit of a different story, right? The actual Colombian government says, "We'll continue to accept Colombians and Colombian women who return as deportees, guaranteeing them decent conditions as citizens subject to rights." That's from the foreign minister. He said that. He added that U.S. deportation flights had resumed, and the Colombian presidential plane was being prepared to assist in repatriating citizens. This was one of the things that Gustavo Petro said. He's like, look, just don't treat them like criminals. And by the way, I'll send you the Colombian presidential plane and you can use that to bring them back here, right? And then that's when Trump threw his little tantrum. And then boom, now the media is saying, oh, Gustavo Petro has fully backed down. But the reality of it is they're going to use the Colombian presidential jet. So they are trying to restore some dignity and some human rights to what the monsters in the White House are doing. So here's my guess beyond that too, right, is I bet they're not going to have handcuffs on their hands and on their legs anymore. I bet that there was some degree of the U.S. saying, okay, we're not going to do that, because what did Trump say? He came out and said the thing that you all knew he was going to say, which is, oh, they fully agreed and I was 100% right and they folded. Right? He's trying to frame it as, oh, I got everything I wanted and they got nothing. When meanwhile, like I said, they are going to use the Colombian plane for this, which was one of the things Gustavo Petro said. If you use the Colombian plane, we will accept. And again, just treat them like human beings. Take the fucking handcuffs off. So Trump said, or this is from the White House, I should say, the press secretary. The government of Colombia has agreed to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of an illegal alien from Colombia returned from the United States, including on U.S. military aircraft, without limitation or delay. Based on this agreement, the fully drafted IEEPA tariffs and sanctions will be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor this agreement. So in other words, like, okay, fine, we'll scrap the 25% tariffs that then go up to 50% because we reached some sort of a deal. But again, the deal includes they're going to use the Colombian plane, which was one of the things Gustavo Petro said. Hey, don't send them on fucking military planes. Take the Colombian plane. And also, my guess is they agreed, okay, we won't have them in handcuffs on their arms and on their feet, because this is part of the show that the Trump administration is putting on. We're macho, we're tough, we're kicking out all these immigrants because immigrants are the reason that this country is bad, which of course is bogus, which of course is not true. But there's a deeper problem here, though, guys, that we need to talk about. And this is the thing that MAGA is far too short-sighted to understand, this is, in the long term, Trump is absolutely obliterating any and all U.S. credibility and any and all ability for the U.S. to lead, right? We were the world's sole superpower. Now that's changing. And now Trump is accelerating that process. So in a sense, he wants to be like the leader of the world, effectively, of the most respected nation, the most powerful nation, etc. But every move he's making is isolating the U.S. further. Nothing could push a country into the arms of China faster than what's happening now. There's another great example of this. So Trump decided we're going to pull the U.S. out of the World Health Organization. Well, guess what? Immediately after, President Xi of China goes, okay, don't worry, we got it. We'll fill in. So now the World Health Organization is more in the realm of China, in the court of China, aligned with China. They look to China as the global leaders now. And Trump handed it to them on a silver platter. He took the crown off, put it on a silver platter, and handed it right to China. And all of this vacuum he's leaving the world over is going to be filled. And it's going to be filled with China. And this is another great example of it. You are going to alienate and isolate every single South American country. If this is how you act, you don't treat them as equal partners, you treat them as a colony or a vassal state. Well, guess what? They're going to fucking look elsewhere, right? You're going to speed up the process of BRICS expansion, right? Everybody's going to want to get off the US dollar. Everybody's going to want to go to somebody who's more fair, more even-handed. And that's what's going on here. That's long-term. That's what we're looking at. And Trump is absolutely hyper-accelerating the turn of the world away from the United States of America as the global leader and to China. And I think Trump is too stupid to think about it in those terms. And I also think he cares first and foremost about being the tough guy, bossing people around, being the macho man, having the appearance of, complete and total victory, and everybody both loves me and fears me. But this is almost like from a textbook of how not to lead is what's going on here. Because you are planting these seeds of disgust and hatred around the world among all of these nations, where all of them view the U.S. as a problem. Now, by the way, also, you have some resistance among other leaders. Yeah, like Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico, very similar situation. The president of Honduras now, they're like all of these South American countries are now banding together, and they're going to basically be a unified bloc to stand up for themselves against the overreach by the United States. He's forming and forging new alliances among countries that are supposed to be our allies, but that he's too much of an idiot to fucking treat them properly to keep them that way. He's now forming these new blocks of resistance. And that has really devastating long-term consequences, right? So that's the breakdown. We were on the brink of just being in an out-and-out trade war with Colombia. At the last second, they walked back from the ledge. And Trump is trying to spin it as, it's a complete and total victory, and they agreed to everything I said, and they got nothing for it. Well, certainly at the very least, they're going to be using the Colombian plane, which was one of the things he said. Show them respect, show them dignity, and then we'll accept them. And so he sent the Colombian plane. And again, my guess is there's going to be no handcuffs on their hands and their feet anymore. So in other words, Gustavo Petro got what he wanted and got what he called for. And again, in the process, throughout all of this, what's the end result? U.S. relationship with Colombia shattered, and it's going to be very shortly our relationship with other allies of ours. It's going to be shattered. The U.S. is going to be further alienated and isolated, and he's going to push everybody into the loving arms of China. And I mean, you couldn't craft it or script it any more clear for the downfall of the U.S. to come ASAP. That's what we're witnessing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.